Why 1 billion Muslims can't help Palestinians? Let's explore the reasons behind these significant. So, make sure to watch the video till the end, and if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon, so you won't miss any future videos we upload. The inability of approximately 2 billion Muslims worldwide to effectively help Palestinians stems from a complex interplay of geopolitical, economic, social, and organizational factors. Understanding these challenges requires a deep dive into various elements that hinder unified and effective action. Geopolitical interests. Diverse national interests. Muslim-majority countries span across several continents and encompass diverse political landscapes, economic conditions, and strategic priorities. The political agendas of these countries often conflict, preventing a unified stance on the Palestinian issue. For instance, countries like Saudi Arabia, Iran, and Turkey have distinct geopolitical goals and rivalries, which often lead to divergent approaches to foreign policy, including their stance on Israel and Palestine. Political alliances. Many Muslim-majority countries have deep political and economic alliances with Western nations, particularly the United States, which is a staunch supporter of Israel. These alliances often come with significant economic and military aid, making it challenging for these countries to adopt policies that might antagonize their Western allies. For example, Egypt and Jordan, both of which have peace treaties with Israel, receive substantial aid from the United States. This financial dependency constrains their ability to take a strong stance in favor of Palestinians. Internal conflicts and instability. Regional conflicts. Numerous Muslim-majority countries are engulfed in internal conflicts and civil wars, such as those in Syria, Yemen, and Libya. These conflicts consume resources and attention, making it difficult for these countries to focus on external issues, including the Palestinian cause. The devastation and humanitarian crises within these countries necessitate prioritizing internal stability over international solidarity. Sectarian divides. The Sunni-Shia divide significantly impacts the unity of the Muslim world. The rivalry between Sunni-majority Saudi Arabia and Shia-majority Iran is a prominent example of how sectarianism can lead to geopolitical fragmentation. This divide often translates into competing foreign policies and a lack of coordinated support for Palestinians. Saudi Arabia and Iran both claim to champion the Palestinian cause, but their mutual antagonism complicates collective action. Economic constraints. Economic dependencies. Several Muslim-majority countries are economically dependent on Western nations or are part of the global economic system dominated by Western financial institutions. This dependency influences their foreign policy decisions, including their stance on Israel-Palestine. For instance, countries like Pakistan and Bangladesh rely heavily on international aid and remittances from the West, which can limit their diplomatic flexibility. Domestic economic challenges. Many Muslim-majority countries face significant economic challenges, including poverty, unemployment, and underdevelopment. These domestic issues limit their capacity to provide substantial support to Palestinians. Governments struggling to meet the basic needs of their own populations are often unable to prioritize foreign aid or political support for external causes. Diplomatic and international pressures. Diplomatic relations. The normalization of relations with Israel by several Muslim-majority countries under the Abraham Accords reflects a shift in diplomatic priorities. Countries like the UAE, Bahrain, Sudan, and Morocco have established formal relations with Israel, driven by economic, security, and technological benefits. This normalization process dilutes the collective bargaining power of the Muslim world in supporting Palestinians and creates a complex diplomatic landscape. International law and sanctions. Taking action against Israel, whether through diplomatic, economic, or military means, could result in international sanctions or legal challenges. The threat of such repercussions discourages Muslim-majority countries from engaging in actions that could be deemed aggressive or non-compliant with international norms. Countries like Iran, which face extensive international sanctions, exemplify the potential costs of opposing Western-backed policies. Leadership and governance. Authoritarian regimes in many Muslim-majority countries. Authoritarian regimes prioritize maintaining their power over international solidarity. These regimes often focus on internal control, suppressing dissent, and managing domestic opposition, sidelining the Palestinian issue in the process. For example, regimes in Egypt and Saudi Arabia have faced internal dissent and have thus prioritized domestic stability over international activism. Lack of effective leadership. The absence of strong, unified leadership within the Muslim world hampers coordinated efforts to support Palestinians. The Organization of Islamic Cooperation, OIC, which aims to represent the collective voice of the Muslim world, has been criticized for its ineffectiveness and lack of decisive action. The OIC's inability to galvanize member states into a cohesive force reflects the broader leadership vacuum in addressing the Palestinian cause. International institutions. Weakness of the OIC. The OIC has struggled to assert itself as a powerful entity capable of influencing international policy on Palestine. Its resolutions and declarations often lack enforcement mechanisms and are not binding on member states. This impotence undermines the OIC's role in mobilizing collective action and securing tangible support for Palestinians. Global power dynamics. The influence of powerful international institutions and the veto power of certain countries in the UN Security Council often undermine efforts to address the Palestinian issue. The United States, a permanent member of the Security Council with veto power, consistently supports Israel, blocking many resolutions that could favor Palestinians. This power dynamic limits the effectiveness of international advocacy and diplomatic efforts led by Muslim-majority countries. Public opinion and social movements. Public opinion. While there is widespread public support for Palestinians among Muslims globally, translating this into effective political action is challenging. Public opinion often does not align with governmental policies, especially in authoritarian regimes where public dissent is suppressed. The disconnect between popular sentiment and state policy is evident in countries where pro-Palestinian demonstrations are met with government crackdowns. Activism and advocacy. Grassroots activism and civil society efforts in support of Palestinians exist but often lack the power to influence significant policy changes at the governmental level. Activists and advocacy groups face numerous challenges, including limited resources, government repression, and the need for broader international support. Despite passionate activism, these efforts are frequently fragmented and lack the coordination needed to effect change on a global scale.